आम्ही रोखडेच दुसरी सेशन सुरू करता इतल्या खातीर की सेशन जे आसा ते सेशन बसून घ्या तुमी सेशन हे मातशे दोन एजिटेशनाची सेशन आसा आनी खूब इंट्रस्टींग सेशन आसा ताका लागून सो हांव नमनाक आनी परत घडोभर तेल होतय ना आमचे लागीं हांगा आमचे बरोबर एक आमचे मदीं म्हणजे हांणी सांगलें की बॉम्बे युनिवर्सिटी मोहनदासांनी जो उलयतना सांगलें की बॉम्बे युनिवर्सिटी भितर आमी आशिल्ले बॉम्बे युनिवर्सिटीचे स्टुडंट्स आशिल्ले आनी इंडिपेंडंट स्टुडंट्स युनियन करपाची जी चळवळ सुरू जाल्ली ती भारतभरच सुरू जाल्ली सो आमचे स्टुडंट्स युनियन आशिल्ले त्याच बरोबर बॉम्बे विद्यार्थी प्रगती संघटनेचे आशिल्ले आनी तांचे मदीं अशे तरेचें एक नातें तयार जालें की तातूंतले कांय जाण येवन हांगा गोंयांतच सेटल जाले आनी तातूंतले एक आमचे बरोबर आसा ते म्हणजे ज्याने डॉक्टर निष्ठा देसाय हांव मागता ताजे लागीं त्यांनी वयर येवचें मानेस्ताक भेटवण दिवपा खातीर डॉक्टर निष्ठा देसाय फक्त गोंया येवन रावलीच ना तर डॉक्टर टी.बी. कुन्नाचेर ताणें बऱ्यापैकी रिसर्च केल्लो आसा आनी त्याच बरोबर चिल्ड्रन्स रायट्स इन गोवा ही संघटना स्थापन करून खास करून पिडोफायलाचेर जे गोंया भितर एक वातावरण पिडोफायलाचें जाल्लें ताजे विरुद्ध जनजागृती करून कितल्योश्योच गजाली केल्ले आसा हांव मागता निष्ठा देसाया लागीं की तांणी हांगा पयली भेटवण जी आसा ती सचिन मोरायस हाका दिवची निष्ठा आनी सचिन मोरायस तुमकां सांगलें सोशियोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंटाचो मातशे फोटो खातीर मातशें अशें सचिन मोरायस तुमकां सांगलें की सोशियोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंटाचो हें आसा जाला सद्या इतलेंच की मातशी ABC जाला क्लिओफातो सोळणेचो आनी तो वेळेचो सो तांचे भितर कितें एग्जॅक्टली जालां तें म्हाका खबर ना बट कुंकळेचो रे तू कुंकळेचो ओके पूण तो म्हाका सांगतालो तूं वेळेची न्ही म्हूण सो सचिन मोरायस ताचे खातीर एक वेगळी तरेची आमकां ताळयो फावतात की तुमी हांव नकळो भितर वचून पळयलो जाल्यार पूण 50% बस कन्सेशनाचेर एक सुंदर प्रोजेक्ट ताणें भुरग्यां कडल्यान करून घेतला भितर आसा वचचे पयलीं मुद्दम पळयात आनी एक फावट ताचे खातीर ह्यो ताळयो फावतात हे अशे तरेचे करपी भुरगे याद आसात तो असो तरेचो एक टीचर त्या टिचराक आमी हांगा आपयला सो मागता सोळणेकार आय एम सॉरी क्लिओफातो आल्मेदा कुटिन्हो he is recently been nominated also as a senior counsel of High Court आनी स्टुडंट युनियनांतल्यान कितें तयार जाली कसली रत्ना माणकां तयार जाली म्हणटात तातूंतले एक म्हणजे क्लिओफात जो मोहनदासा भशेन जज जाल्लो गव्हर्मेंट सर्वीस घेतिल्ली जज जाल्लो कांय म्हयन्यां भितर ताणें सोडली ती आनीक ताणें प्रॅक्टीस सुरू केली आनी ताजो बेजिकली इच्छा आशिल्ली की आपूण जर्नलिस्ट जावपाचो सो ते लॉयराचे हें तो फक्त पोट भरपा खातीर करता आनी ताजें खरें पॅशन जें आसा तें बरोवपा खातीर उदेंत तेजें मॅगझीन आमी काडटाले त्या उदेंत मॅगझिनाचो तो संपादक आशिल्लो आनी जेन्ना हें आंदोलन जाल्लीं 2 आंदोलनां समांतर चलतालीं एक GMC रिजर्वेशन आनी दुसरें मार्क्स स्कॅन्डल तेन्ना तो ऑल गोवा स्टुडंट्स युनियनाचो जनरल सेक्रेटरी आशिल्लो आनी ताणें मारय बी खाला सांगतलो तो आय थिंक यू आर गोइंग टू टेल दॅट मारय बी खाला बऱ्यापैकी सार्दिना कडल्यान सार्दिनाच्या लोकां कडल्यान त्योय गजाली सांगतलो हांव चड वेळ लायना सचिना लागीं मागता की ताणें ही गजाल सुरू करची
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful introduction to this wonderful gathering that we are here. I recall one of the famous Western sociologists by name Professor Giddings, Anthony Giddings. And I think it's a wonderful thing to see that we have a culmination of time and space. See, we are at this moment, at this juncture, all of us sitting in this gathering, and where different times and spaces are meeting together. So the point is that we have all come from different places. We have different memories that we have constructed during this students movement that we are talking about. And in that whole period, we have a big time that is there. And in spite of all this, we have the agencies and the actors present here. So this is how I would like to start with the analysis of what I saw so far. And without wasting much of time of everyone, let me start with the first thing to Advocate Cleofato Almeida Coutinho, who is here with us. The first question to you, sir, is that what motivated you at the personal level, to get into a movement? Like, we are talking in specific, not to do with a 50% concession. I will try to deviate from there and keep it a little bit away, because we have deliberated a lot about it. But I will move towards the other two equally important issues that were there at that point of time. We are talking about the Marx scandal and also the issue that rocked the GMC specifically. We are talking about the reservation at GMC. So specifically in the context of this, what was your personal motivation for getting into this, and what was the atmosphere of the students at that point of time?
See, sometime back when Mohandas was talking, there was one issue was, why are students not acting the way they were acting then? I think the atmosphere was totally different. Emergency was lifted in 78, and between 77 to 1980 there was a government in power at the center, and this government had people in it which were people from the struggle, and that was an extremely liberal atmosphere. It is that atmosphere which allowed all agitations to grow. See, we will find, even when it comes to the Supreme Court, we are talking about the principle of bail, not jail. Now, these are the principles which were given at that time, between that period, 77 to 80. Krishna Iyer was in the Supreme Court at that time. So we will find that, and that atmosphere allowed this agitations to go on. Now, as far as the agitations or what motivated me, see, the bus concession strike was to a large extent, according to me, north-based. South, yes, whatever Mohandas has told has happened, but the major factor was in the north. The Marx scandal was major in the south. One important thing that we have missed, or everybody misses, is the Chogle College strike. Mohandas told us about removal of one teacher, but there was a major strike involving the teachers went on strike because they were not given their salary. I think Mohandas will know that. Teachers went on strike, we backed the teachers, and the backing was supported by almost the entire Margaon community. With the backing, we took over the college. We painted the college outside as Margaon Students College. Appointed our own principal. Alito Sequeira was the principal. Of course, that lasted for about 3 days or 4 days. To such an extent that the principal had to give an advertisement in the newspaper saying that students are not allowing him to function. That if, because this was in the month of June, if he cannot sign certificates for students to go to professional colleges. So, we were there in the thick of it at that time. So, Marx scandal, according to me, to a large extent, is a fallout of the Chogle College teacher strike, which was backed by the students, and that was sort of boiling at that time. And after the teachers withdrew the strike, the students had no business to continue the movement that was started by them. But then what had also happened was the bus concession was basically AGSU. Yeah, correct. Even the Marx scandal was AGSU. But in the Marx scandal agitation, the main actors of the bus concession were not there. This was sort of more the south.
So if I could interject, sir, can you tell the audience, I think there are people from different time periods over here, people who were born maybe in the 60s, 70s would be well aware about what was this Marx scandal all about. But I believe people who are born after the 90s or even in the 80s, 90s, 2000, and if they are here in the audience, they would not know actually what is this Marx scandal all about.
Yeah, before telling you about the Marx scandal, I will tell you that Minister Sardinha was a personal friend. Felicio Davis was another personal friend. Felicio Davis was earlier in the AGSU. And one day we realized some noise in the office saying that marks of one student has been increased. And this was coming from the non-teaching staff in the college. And I remember telling Valmiki Falero that he was working for West Coast Times, that this news has to come. Because I had the increased marks with me, which I had copied down for the teachers, the non-teaching staff had given. But Valmiki wanted the print of it. Now, how to take a print? We, I think, somehow managed to take that mark sheet away, took it near the glass window, and Agustin Antang clicked photograph. But I do not know, I think Mohandas may be the culprit there. Instead of coming first in West Coast Times, the news came first in Rashtramat. He linked it to Rashtramat first.
Okay.
So it came in Rashtramat first. But none of us know about this, or even I forgot about it. Within 3 days, the marks were withdrawn.
I see.
By the board, saying that there is an error. But for us, it was interfering with the exam system. It was sort of corruption in the department, which had to be stopped. The first time it was published on 5th of July. By 10th July, there was a demand that the minister must resign. And it went on. It went on and on. But I must say that though the press was, I would not say fully with us, but a large extent of support came from the press. Marathi press from Mumbai, the local Marathi press, and the Navin Times, West Coast Times were quite supportive. I have with me editorials written by almost all the editors asking the minister to resign, that there was a moral responsibility. I don't think this would happen now. And besides that, there was a huge support from the civil society. People were supporting in a different way. There were pamphlets made. I have one of the pamphlets with me, made by, this was a pamphlet which I went home and picked up, which gave the details of all the movements. Yesterday only I had to go home to pick it up.
This is a wonderful one. It's talking about what for the attention of citizens, Marx scandal. And I think this just takes me back to the movement during independence period. You have something like these sort of pamphlets that were distributed, and I think this would have galvanized most of the students to come together, right? Fantastic. So you made a point that at that point of time, in spite of within 3 days, you are saying that the marks were changed.
Marks were withdrawn.
Right. And
they
yet
said there was an error.
Yeah, and yet it is that the students continued with the movement, right? And for a small thing like a change in marks, and you all actually brought down, as I was reading to the reports, the entire government to rethink of making one person resign. So what is it that you think must have gone into the making of that?
See, the movement was throughout Goa. Though I said it was south-based, there was a Mapsa Bandh, there was a Panjim Bandh, Canacona Bandh, Kurshorem Bandh, Vasco Bandh. So almost all cities were closed on days where the bandhs were held. There was also a All Goa Bandh. So that way, I would say there was support from the public. Otherwise, you can't hold bandhs in that form and of that nature without support from the people. Our demand was at that time that the minister must resign and there must be a judicial inquiry.
What judicial inquiry,
Judicial inquiry.
for this mark scandal?
Yes, judicial inquiry.
Okay.
And the government appointed a 5-member inquiry committee headed by Professor G.G. Buckley. There were 2 MLAs in that committee, Mario Vaz and Babusaw Gaonkar, G.V. Dond and Ravindra Namshekar. A 5-member committee was appointed by the board. We told the government we do not want this inquiry committee. We want a judicial inquiry. This went on, and in course of marks scandal, from AGSU almost came the PSU. And as Mohandas has said, the main slogan at that time was, you have nothing to lose but your chains. So if you ask me what was the motivation, you have nothing to lose but your chains. That was the slogan at that time, with which the agitation went on.
Okay. Can you just tell me what was your age at that point of time?
20.
20. Okay, so here is a 20-year-old, not today, of course, in 1980 we are talking about, and a 20-year-old was into this. Probably, I have one more question in relation to that. I don't think a 20-year-old would have been confident enough to, take on a big government machinery and, get this done. Of course, I believe there were a lot of group of students into this, but who are the prominent leaders as such at that point of time? Means, I would say, in terms of the think tank, who actually gave in you a lot of inputs into how to go about systematizing it.
I got it.
Yeah.
Unlike the bus strike was not directed by any think tank. Bus strike happened, and I look at it, it also happened because there was a feeling at that time that the government was controlled by the bus lobby. That also had to be attacked. So that was one factor which sort of made the bus 50% bus strike. To some extent, it was also backed by the then opposition. So that strike went on, but the 50%, the mark scandal was, there was a group called Ideas. It was a group from Bangalore. There was Alito Siqueira, who later joined the university. Then Alvito Barreto from Bangalore. They were, this group was sort of left liberals, I would say. They were providing the necessary think tank. Then came the VPS, Vidyarthi Pragati Sangatna, from Bombay. They were helping us. And then, of course, came the PSU, which was again, I would say, left-leaning at that time. So that was the motivation, or the think tank came from there.
Okay. And how did you all go about, I think I'll be repeating this question, but probably what I saw in the context of the previous movement, that is the 50% concession, it was not a digital age, of course. And this period of time, as you had already answered it, you had these pamphlets which were there to create the awareness. But the question is, how did parents, or even in that case, the other civil society, the point that you made, that civil society people were supporting you.
See,
so on what basis was this?
See, I put it that the times were different.
Yes.
The society was not of the nature it is now. Of course, even our parents were worried, but still there was little extra tolerance. But from the way the media was supporting you, the way the bunds were successful, it was very clear that the society also wanted the minister to go. Or rather, the issue of corruption in education, manipulation of exams must not be taken away lightly. Then I will say that there was this group, Sanghas Natya Manch. They played a big role because they were having the street plays. And the street plays were going from village to village, various cities. And they were getting lot of support, lot of encouragement, to such an extent that one such street play was to be held in Kurtari, somewhere in December of 1980. Makazan, Kurtari, no? Yeah. And I think I just collected, yes. And Sardin said, yes, you all want to come to Makazana. Do you think I have no support in my constituency? This was his challenge. So they went. And I still remember I was in the chemistry lab. I was a science student. And somebody told me that they were attacked. So somehow I managed to come to the police station, hired an ambassador, took Gajanan Raikar, ex-MLA, 5 policemen, and went to the site. As the policemen came out, I was attacked. I was beaten up. But somehow, immediately thereafter, the police dispersed the mob by a lathi charge. And the crowd had petrol cans to set the tempo on fire, because the Natya Manch people went on in a tempo. It was a Matador van which they wanted to set on fire. And in the nick of time, by a lathi charge, the crowd was dispersed. But that incident flared up the movement. It helped build a movement to such an extent that within a few days, Sardin had to resign. He gave in his resignation, but we demanded that the judicial inquiry must be ordered, and judicial inquiry was ordered. Judge Bhatta was appointed as one-man judicial commissioner under the Commissions of Inquiry Act. Unfortunately, what happened was, we expressed no faith in the Buckley committee, but we said we want judicial inquiry. And I will just read out what Buckley committee said, final report. Somebody was therefore allowed to use the name, influence and office of the Education Minister to allow serious malpractices. All this showed that a chairman was induced or forced to do illegal activities due to pressure. The minister becomes indirectly responsible. This is what Buckley said. And you want to know what Judge Bhatta said finally? Judge Bhatta said, there is no evidence to show that former education minister is directly involved, as it is not legally a question as to what motivated the 2 officers and moderators to indulge in the above irregularities. Technically, the minister is not involved, but that above said persons have committed acts of favoritism, nepotism, illegalities, irregularities and abuse of these powers. So, Buckley, as a person who not trained in law, went by what we call normal presumptions. Judge Bhatta, trained in law, wanted evidence.
Yeah.
But one important thing was like this. Buckley was a witness before Judge Bhatta. And Buckley gave him a letter written by one of the 2 examiners who increased the marks. By the way, the marks were increased from 49 to 77, 57 to 75, 49 to 77 and 57 to 75. And one of the examiners was Professor Dukde from St. Xavier's College. His statement to Buckley was like this. After the declaration of results, he had been to the Education Minister's chamber in the Secretariat. The girl was there. The chairman of the board, Bida Cruz, was present. Under his minister's instructions, the PA had brought papers, guides were provided, answers were altered, our moderators made the corrections, marks 49 to 77. The chemistry moderator Coelho went through the same process, changing the marks 57 to 75. Coelho did not say this before Buckley, but Ducle said this before Buckley. Wait, but when it came to the Bhatta Commission, Ducle said he never said this. And he never gave such a statement. But Buckley had a written statement signed by Ducle with him. But it so happened that the advocate for Sardinha charged him, that document, how it can be with you? This is a stolen document. Because all the records had to go with the report. So how can you have the original? But anyway, Bhatta took that on record. But he still felt that there was no evidence. And one more thing in this entire thing was that it took from July to December for the minister to resign. Rani did not accept the resignation, but divested him of the education portfolio. Now that was in December. We did not keep quiet. For next 6 months it went on. And for a period of 6 months, there was this demand for starting up the inquiry commission. So though the marks scandal was in 80, Bhatta started functioning only in June of next year. So after a period of almost 1 year. I must tell you about one more incident. It was on July 28th. Yes, July 28th. There was a public meeting at the Loya Maidan, and Mohandas received a letter to join services as a LDC in the collector's office. So he refused to take up the job, saying that this job is to buy me out. The government denied it, but then it was shown from record that it was sent to him only for that purpose. So the point that I am trying to make is that it was a long drawn agitation, almost for a period of June to December and thereafter. Now one more thing I will say, that the government has not yet published the report of the Bhatta Commission. Even now it is not published. Now Sardin is no longer in power. A different party government is there. At least now they should publish it. What is there? They should the government. What is there to publish a report? It should be with them. So they should publish it. At least make clear that what was what went into making out of the marks scandal.
It was quite interesting to listen to the entire episode of what happened. I have another question for you, sir. Is during the whole process of this agitation, in what way do you think that agitation has redefined you, the person you were maybe at that 20-year-old, and you evolved from that point of time till maybe what you went on to become?
Now, at that time, my close friends in say 79, one was Felicio Esteves, other was Movin Gudino. Yeah. Now they have Esteves became OSD to minister. Movin Gudino went to Congress party, but we held on to the core issue of our ideology of being with the society, see how the society can grow progressively, how there can be a progressive thought in society. And I think that has kept me with the same thought and with the same thought process even now. With any issue that comes up or any stand I have to take, that trend of thought keeps us going or keeps me going.
Okay, on a lighter note, there have been sometimes lasting relationships that have been built, like in events like this. So, were you in a position to build a lasting relationship that has helped you till date?
I have married a person from the movement.
Okay.
One.
Okay.
And number two, all of us meet almost every week.
Yes, so I think one of the takeaways, why I ask this question is because today's youngsters feel that, what can we do to nurture friendships, lifelong friendships? I think agitations like these created that atmosphere and created that give and take and created that common cause, created that commitment and all these things that came together. And I think that led them to the path that they were in, and it has created these lifelong relationships with one another. So that is the biggest takeaway on a personal note, I believe, that Sir shared. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And just to take this ahead, to I would invite Dr. Mukul Mahatme is there, who was on the executive committee of the Goa Association of Resident Doctors. He was actually supposed to give just additional inputs. He and basically Dr. Meenakshi Martins, both of them, basically supposed to give additional inputs about this. But I think you'll have to explain the issue little bit also.
Yes, sir. So you can start with the same question which I had asked earlier. Like, what was the whole issue about that GMC? Like, what is it that prompted you all as students as well as many of the resident doctors as the organization that was involved with it came together?
Okay, now the way I remember it, the strike started on 17th of July 1980. Incidentally, my second son was also born on that day. Before that, what had happened, as Cleofato said, Mrs. Kakorkar's government had gone. And for the first time in Goa, there was a Congress government. And Mr. Pratap Singh Rane had become a chief minister by default, because Willie and Babu Naik, with due respects to his grandson if he's here, I may say certain things which might not be palatable. Both wanted to be CMs, and Congress thought that the best thing would be for them to make a third person the CM. So Mr. Pratap Singh Rane was made the CM. I think soon after that, this mark scandal of Sardin must have come up.
Yes.
So that on that matter, the government had already gone on defensive. So there was a general feeling that this government is vulnerable. And as an analogy, may not fit exactly what is happening today, but there were only two potential chief ministers, Babu and Dr. Willie. In this situation, suddenly somebody got probably a nice idea that why not reserve MBBS admissions on basis of one is religion, second is sports. And third was, I think, an handicapped.
Yes.
If I'm wrong. 3 seats were reserved. The students from the medical, I was by then already a postgraduate student, that means a resident. Meenakshi is much junior to me, so I think she must not have finished her MBBS then. Second MBBS, she was in second MBBS. So at that time, the students felt deprived. They felt that they will lose 3 seats. And then there was not much of this communal thinking that because it is for Muslims or because of, sort of a deprivation. And then came the real factor. At that time, there was Ernest is still around. I think in Kurtarim, yes, he's still around. So there was a student called as Dr. Ernest Rodriguez. He, by that time, had become the president of the guard. And we had been already out of the guard and we were preparing for our exam, that is the MDA. So Ernest had a problem with Sardin.
Yeah.
He thought
rivals in
with Sardin, I cannot become an MLA. So Ernest wanted to sort it out with Sardin. So Ernest then work must be during that agitation. So Ernest felt that if we do something now, we will be able to shake government more, and then his turn might come in Kurtori, etc., etc. But basically, Ernest wanted to blackmail. Ernest didn't want an agitation. Ernest didn't want to do anything. Ernest wanted that an appearance to be created that, look, we don't like this. We will again start an agitation. So you listen to us or we will do this. And in the process, he was thinking the government, Sardin, etc. will call him and then the road will become clear to him. And myself and another 3-4 of my colleagues, were walking towards the library of the medical college, the old library. And we were from the canteen, we were going there, and on the way used to be this amphitheater, the anatomy hall. So suddenly we met some of our fellows. They said, are you not coming to the general body? The guard is having a general body. We were not even in touch with it. So they asked us, we asked, what is the subject? So he said, no, against Muslim reservation, there is a general body meeting today. So we were literally pulled in. And when we were just sitting idle on the last row, one of my friends, he smelled this rat. He said, अरे म्हणा हो फुलयता हो काय करतो ना हाजे कडेन काय जावचें ना हो मागीर वतलो सर्जना कडल्यान कितें खातलो म्हणजे तेन्ना पयशे बिशे न्ही मातशें गुडवील आनी कितें मेळ्ळें आनी म्हणालो आमचें एसोसिएशनाचो म्हणालो गोबर जातलो हें कोणें तरी सांगना बरोबर दुसरो उठलो आनी तोच ताणें अशी फेरी स्पीच दिली की भुरगे सगळे उचांबळ जाले आनी भुरगे उचांबळ जाता म्हणजे तिसरो उठलो आनी तिसऱ्यान सांगलें लेट्स गो ऑन स्ट्रायक सो तो स्ट्रायक आमी तेन्ना काडलो आनी गळ्याक बांदलो. And then we moved out from when we went to library. In 2-3 days, we realized that we have created a big problem. Ernesta कडेन कांय जावचें ना आनी आमचो फोर्स पळय आमी पयलीं कितें मेळयल्लो तो आतां ना करून बसतले आनी गव्हर्मेंट आमकां आमचो नाचतलो म्हणून. So then a steering committee was formed and the whole thing was taken away from Ernest. Ernest was literally imprisoned in the hostel itself. And मागीर फुडें कितें जालें त्यो and at that time we had to I have seen the ugly face of Willie as well as Babu Naik. And Babu Naik's face is to become more ugly when MS Prabhu is to be with him. Without MS Prabhu, Babu Naik was much better person too. MS Prabhu and then the alcohol, both combination, the person would become deadly. And this, we used to be called for negotiation in Mandavi. जालें मागीर विली पळय आहा ताजो तो जगदीश राव आशिल्लो. सो ह्या दोगांच्या हातून आय हॅव सीन आय विटनस एज इन प्रताप सिंग राणे देन चीफ मिनिस्टर्स हावस तो मागीर तो म्हाका दिसता नुरवी बी थंयच रावूंक गेला. आमकां अशें उलोवपाक आपयताले प्रताप सिंग सकल विली सकल. Willie being a doctor understood us better. So Willie would discuss with us, sort out certain things, makes Satish Sonak used to be one of them. So in Rana बरोबर प्रताप सिंग गोमंतकान नेक्स्ट डे न्यूज हाडिल्ली. प्रताप सिंग असो सोपणांतल्यान वयर वतालो बाबू नायका कडेन म्हणटालो ते. बाबू नायक तातले 1-2 कितें तरी गुणाय जालो सकल प्रताप. So प्रताप सिंग was like a peon, was carrying these messages up, messages down, messages up, messages down. Satish मागीर प्रताप सिंगान सतीश सोनाकाक विचारलें, you are talking like a politician. So Satish Sonakan taka sale, sir, you are a politician, we are not politician, but if you don't like to be politician, you come this side, I will go that side and sit. So this is in short about that, and we won the matter by blackmailing the government. आमचे शक्तीचेर आमी जिखूंक ना. सेटलमेंट जालो सगळे डिमांड्स मीट जाले पयलीं we were forced to blackmail.
I have one question on that because I was going through the varied newspapers at that point of time, and I found that there was some sort of a violence that was resorted maybe on the resident doctors as well as vice versa, like people who were involved with it to do that, to unleash the same. So what was the like the reason for the same, like means why suddenly violence was unleashed on doctors, especially treated means to be seen as in like god-like creatures, but here you have violence unleashed on you, and I think some of them were hospitalized as well at that point of time.
No, it is you are looking at it from a different way.
Yeah.
We created the situation.
Okay.
All right, doctors attacked chief minister's car, that black Mercedes Benz of Pratap Singh Rane. We had, okay, I have not benefited. I have lost 6 months of my career, so I don't have to do that. What happened is we got information that Pratap Singh Rane, as a chief minister, is coming to Mines Braganza Hall for panchayat meeting, all punches of this thing. So ती कळना बरोबर सगळे भुरगे थंय धांवले. Were in the near the police station. थंय धांवना बरोबर प्रताप सिंग बाय दॅट टायम भितर पाविल्लो. ती गाडी पळय भायर आशिल्ली ती गाडी अटॅक केली आनी दिलखुशान आमकां मदत केल्या तेन्ना. आनी ते फ्लॅग बी पळय आहा ते जाणे ते पळय सांगता सी एक्टिविस्ट हॅव गूड फ्युचर. जाणे पळय अशें अशें आलेलें न्ही ही बिकम ए कार्डियाक सर्जन डॉक्टर जगदीश खांडेबरकर स्टील अलायव इन मुंबय. सो ताणें तें केलें बी आनी ते वयर ते इलेक्ट्रिसिटी डिपार्टमेंटल्यान ताका पुलिसांनी मागीर फोटो बिटो काडिल्ले. मागीर आमकां भितर आनी प्रताप सिंग हाणें फाटल्या दारांतल्यान पळो तेवटेंतल्यान कलेक्टर्स ते हातूंतल्यान मागीर. आनी दॅट वॉज दीस इन्सिडंट वीच आर मेन्शनिंग.
Yeah.
Now if you want to know the real thing, I will tell you about the blackmail.
Yes, actually, I want to know that one. That is why I'm getting out in another way.
See, things were going beyond our control. They were आमचे फोडटाले ते पयशे दिताले तरेतरेन जाताले आमी भिवूनय थोडे लोक उरताले. सो वी वर रियलायझिंग दैट दीस इज गोइंग टू आमचेर येतलें म्हणटा तशें. In this process, lot of people helped. Gomantak helped us a lot, despite being owned by Choglis then. All right. Then all doctors, medical professionals, and other intellectuals from Goa, etc. In this help, I landed with a gentleman whom I had never seen in my life, Mr. Purushottam Kakodkar. We have also Mr. Kakodkar's granddaughter here, not only Babunak's grandson. She is present here. Okay, Namrata Khandebarkar, she is there. Her father was a teacher. So I landed. Sunil Nadkarni took me to Purushottam Kakodkar. अरे तुम्ही भाऊक मेळ्ळ्या आमकां भाऊ म्हणल्यार कोण तो फक्त गोमंतक सांगतालो तें खबर आशिल्लें मराठी कोंकणी ताच्या बेलान कांय ना. भाऊक मेळ्ळें कितें भाऊक मेळून कितें जातलें. भाऊक भायर मारला भाऊ कोण भाऊक शेणेला विली जाल्लो GPCC प्रेसिडेंट भाऊक कुशीक काडून. अरे मेळ्ळा न्ही. सो वी वेंट एंड मेट हिम. द डे आय मेट भाऊ दुसरे दिसाच्यान हांव भाऊचो चमचो जालो जालें. अँड ही मेंटर्ड दीस होल एजिटेशन. His objective was dislodge Willie, which ultimately happened. Take the GPCC back in his this thing. This was the prime objective. आणि म्हाका ताणें अशें तरेन दाखयलें की तुका आपूण खंय तरी दिल्ली तो कोण तो यूथ काँग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट तेन्ना कोण जाल्लो तो विसरलो हांव ताचें नांव क्रिश्चन गाय नो बिफोर जॉनाच्या टायमार ते जॉन तेन्ना धव्यांत घालून येतालो ताच्या मरेन. सो नॉयल ओके. So Noel, so ते करून other thing is I had personal relationship with Mrs. Kakodkar. And therefore, I was also feeling happy that if this thing gets, violent as he says, and if she gets an opportunity to get back into the ground, आमचा मसाला collar tight झाला मग. So yes, total agitation was controlled by Bhau. So then at that time, since things started, he was providing the Butta Singh was the Home Minister. He was providing all the details to the center from here. Exactly at that time, Santosh Lad had come. Dr. Santosh Lad, many people must have heard, the neurosurgeon. He had come back from Dubai. And he was carrying a dictaphone. Dictaphone म्हणजे आमकां तेन्ना नवो होतो 81. आनी रावत देसाय म्हणून आनी एक आशिल्लो डॉक्टर हांगा बरोच व्हडलो एक्टिविस्ट. ताणें आमकां सांगलें कितें अरे लाड आयला म्हणलो ताजे कडेन म्हणलो डिक्टाफोन आहा. तुमी म्हणलो ह्यो विलीच्यो आनी म्हणलो बाबूच्यो एकामेकाक मारतात त्यो गाळी म्हणलो रेकॉर्ड कित्याक करना. सो हांवें म्हणलें करया मरे म्हणून मागीर कितें सफारी जाय पडलो. ते घालूंक नाका अशें भितर ते आमी शर्ट पॅन्ट न्हिदले. मागीर ते सफारी तयार केलो. सफारीन तो लाडाचो डिक्टाफोन घालो आनी आमी वचप आनी विलीक्स कडेन तुमी न्यूजपेपरवाले करतात ते तुमकां जाय तें तशें करून विचारता आनी तो मागीर बडबडटलो म्हणटा पळय तशें तें आमी विलीक करप. विलीन बाबूक गाळी घालप तातूंत मदीं मदीं इंदिरा गांधीक गाळी घालप बाबून ताका गाळी घालप एमएसान आनी कोणाक गाळी घालप आमी तें सगळें भितर घेतलें. आणि ते भितर घेतकीर मागीर बाय देन मिस्टर काकोडकर हॅड अरेंज एन इंटरव्यू ऑफ दीस जेंटलमॅन विथ मिसेस गांधी इन दिल्ली. आनी म्हाका ट्रेन वचून गेलो. म्हाका म्हणलो ती म्हणलो कितें आणा तर भितर येतकीर म्हणल्यार केदें ऑफीस व्हडले मनीस म्हणलो नेहरू कडेन झगडूंक वताले भितर येतकीर अशें जातालें म्हणलो. ऑफिसाची ग्रांदीवर आसता रे म्हणलो तुका पळयना बरोबर फुकत करता हो कोण घेवन आयला काय म्हणून. सो शी वील जज द एजिटेशन म्हणल्यार लुकींग एट यू म्हणजे तो म्हणलो सारको तयार जालो आपुणूय फोणाक म्हणालो. इतले म्हणसर ते आयली त्यो काडल्यो धाडून दिल्यो आनी हांकांय धाडून दिल्यो. दुसरे दिसा सेटलमेंट सोंपलें. तेन्नाच्यान मुकुल महात्मा JMCन सोंपलो.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, sir. I think we have next with us as we have those rituals going on. Dr. Meenakshi Martins. So she was also a part of the Goa Association for Resident Doctors at that point of time, and she was also studying at GMC. So she would like to also put in her inputs in the whole episode.
सगळ्यांक देव बरी सांज दिवं. हांव मुकुल महात्मे दोतोर आयल्या पळय तेंचे पेक्षा हांव खूब ज्युनियर मेडिकल कॉलेजीन. हांव सेकेंड MBBSची म्हजी सुरवातच जाल्ली, म्हणजे हांवें फर्स्ट MBBS तेन्नाच क्लियर केल्लो 2-4 म्हयन्या फाटीं. आनी योगायोग असो जालो की म्हजी आवय मेडिकलान सर्जरी वॉर्डान एडमिटेड आशिल्ली आनी कोमांत आशिल्ली. तर म्हाका थंय 24/7 रावचें पडत, दिसभर रातभर हांव थंयच रावतालें, घरा वचनाशिल्लें. हॉस्टेलांनी वचपाक म्हाका चान्स मेळनाशिल्लो. आनी आमचो गार्डाचे जे मेंबर्स आशिल्ले तांकां हांव एक म्हणजे थंय अवेलेबल स्टुडंट तांचे कडेन कॉर्डिनेशन करूंक मेळटा पळय रेकाद दवरपाक. बाबा आपूण थंय गेला, तो येत जाल्यार ताका थंय आपूण गेला म्हणून सांग, मागीर ताका थंय धाड. आनी हें सगळें कॉर्डिनेशन म्हजे कडेन म्हज्या आवयच्या प्रायवेट रुमान सर्जरी डिपार्टमेंटान ते येवन करताले. आनी हांव सगळ्यांक वेवस्थीत मॅसेजी दितालें. तेन्ना एमिडियो गॉमिश म्हणटात तो आमचो सर्जन आशिल्लो. ही वॉज द वन हू हॅड ताका हेड इंजरी आनी ताचो हात मोडिल्लो बी त्या वायलन्स जाला पळय तातूंत. तेन्ना तो सर्जरीन आशिल्लो. आनी अशें बरो म्हयनोभर गेलो. म्हजी आवय 6 म्हयने कोमांत आशिल्ली आनी त्यामुळे म्हाका हांव थंयच आशिल्लें. तर एक दीस जेन्ना पळय गार्ड आमच्या बरोबर तेन्ना डॉक्टर जाहीर काझी, डॉक्टर चारू दत्त जोग, डॉक्टर फ्रांसिस अल्मेदा, एमिडियो गॉमिश आनी कोण रे खंय गेलो मुकुल. हां ते म्हजे आणखीन वयर सिनियर आसताले तांकां हांव वळखना. सो हे जे करंट कमिटीचेर आशिल्ले तांकांच हांव वळखतालें. हां ओके. आनी हय तर अशें जालें की ते म्हापशा वताले आनी जुलायचो म्हयनो आशिल्लो. एकदम चड पावस पडटालो आनी तांकां थंय भाशण दिवपाक हांव म्हापशेचें, म्हणजे हांव ज्ञानप्रसारक विद्यालय आनी सेंट झेवियर्स म्हणटकच तांणी म्हाका म्हळें की तूं म्हापशा जाल्यार तूं कित्याक येना भाशण दिवपाक. तर विशय तुमकां आतां कळ्ळें की कितलो कॉम्प्लिकेट आशिल्लो पळय तो. म्हाकाय सामको अस्पश्ट विशय खबर नाशिल्लो, कारण तातूंत खूब प्लेयर्स आशिल्ले. आनी दोतोर विली आमचो फॅमिली फ्रेंड, तसोच दयानंद नार्वेकर आमचो फॅमिली फ्रेंड. म्हणटकच वचून तांचे बद्दल उलोवपय धड जायना. पण आमी जेन्ना म्हापशा गेलीं, सो फ्रॉम पेंजीम टू म्हापशा त्या डिस्टन्साच्या दौऱ्यान हांणी म्हाका एक स्क्रिप्ट दिली की हे अशें आसा आनी हे तुवें उलोवपा जाय म्हणून. टेम्पोचेर चडयलें म्हाका. पावस वत्तालो, कोणें तरी सत्री धरली, कोणें तरी मायक धरलो. तो कोणें धरलो तो म्हाका खबर ना, पण तुमकां जर खबर आसा जाल्यार म्हाका सांगात. आनी म्हाका भाशण दिवपा लायलें. सो भाशण दिवपाक हांव कमी ना, त्यामुळे हांवें तें भाशण दिलें. आनी माजराच्या गळ्यान कोण घाटली बांदतलो बिनतलो म्हळें खंय हांवें तातूंत. कारण म्हाका दुसऱ्या दिसा दयानंद नार्वेकरान जेवपाक आपयलें, लंचाक आपयलें. ताचो एक रेस्टॉरंट आशिल्लें जुंता हावजान तेन्ना हॉटलिप्स म्हणून. सर पल्लवीच्या नांवान, पल्लवी ताची ताई. आनी ताणें म्हाका फ्रायड रायस दिलो. आनी म्हज्या बरोबर म्हाका दिसता म्हजो भाव आनी उमेश मामरे किंवा आनी कोण आशिल्लो म्हाज्या बरें लक्षांत ना. पण ताणें म्हाका सांगलें की तुमी पळय हे एजिटेशन करतात तें नक्की कितें, म्हणजे कित्याक तुमी करतात आनी तुमकां कितें एक्झॅक्टली जाय. सो जितलें म्हाका काल सांगिल्लें पळय तितलें ताका हांवें दुसऱ्या दिसा सांगलें. मागीर आमी हे कित्याक म्हाका अशें कितें तर पूण तातूंत मथानी इनवॉल्ड आशिल्लो, क्रिस्टोफर फोसेका इनवॉल्ड आशिल्लो, पण ताजी नांवां हांव आयकना. कारण आमी कमिटीचे मेंबर जी आशिल्ली, म्हणजे मागीर हांव तांचे बरोबर भाशणां दिवपाक गेलें म्हणटकच हांव तांचे बरोबर कमिटीचे मेंबर कशें जालें. तर आमी मथानीक आनी क्रिस्टोफराक मेळपाक हॉस्टेलान गेल्लीं. आय डू नॉट नो वीच हॉस्टेल. आनी हांवूय तरी अशें चिंतालें की बाबा इतले हे सिनियर व्हडले स्टुडंट कशे काय म्हणून, बिकॉज दे वर लायक व्हेरी सिनियर टू अस. म्हणजे वी वर लायक इन आवर टीन्स ऑर अर्ली 20s and they were like God knows pretty senior. तर इतलो म्हजो अनुभव आनी मागीर सगळे लाठीचार्ज जालो आनी तुमी पळयला फोटो बिटो पळय ते सगळे मागीर आमी वचून त्या दोतोरा कडेन बसतालीं आनी नायट ड्युटी बी तांचे बरोबर करतालीं. पण एक अशें समरायझींग की खंयचोय एक हें जावं कितें म्हणटात तो एक मुवमेंट जावं अशें न्ही की मुवमेंट जाला म्हणून आमी एकत्र आयले आनी म्हणून आमचे एक फॅमिली अशी निर्माण जाल्या किंवा नाती निर्माण जाल्या हे चुकीचें सिद्धांत अशें की आमची मनोवृत्ती जी आसा आनी आमची विचारधारा जी आसा ती एक आसा म्हणून आमी आज हांगासर सगळे एकत्र बशिल्लीं आसात.
Yes. I think that's a wonderful point. It is the collective conscience of a certain value that you value the most that brings you together. So I think, ma'am, you wonderfully put it across at the end. But I had one, ani ek prashna ashillo maka vicharpacho, means fundamental to this whole movement about the GMC issue. आमी सदां अशें चिंता, we think that आमकां एक पाटी एडमिशन मेळ्ळें GMCंक जाल्यार GMCचेर जे एडमिशन मेळ्ळें तांकां why they are like again interested into this movement related to the something that was going to happen in the future later on. That was the point I want to know like about it.
So it is not only for GMC, because I don't think GMC has ever gone in a strike again thereafter.
Yes.
But if you see Film Institute of India, they're perpetually on strike for the welfare of the people who will come there after them, for the benefit of the students who will come there after them. Whenever there was a fee hike, the current students boycotted. Whenever there was injustice, they boycotted. So it is about injustice and justice for the future students who come into that institution.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so now I think we have the video of Dr. Subodh Kherkar, okay, who will be sharing his views on the whole movement that took place at GMC. So it's a beautiful video and there are lots of takeaways from there. Yeah.
I must be very thankful to Sandesh Prabhudesai. He is going to give a new breath to the memories of the student movement which happened in Goa in the 70s and 80s. I must tell you that whatever little success I have achieved today, I owe a lot of it to my participation in the student movement. I feel that it is a fundamental duty of every student to oppose injustice, to ask questions and to fight for justice. And today, unfortunately, I do not see the same kind of things happening in Goa. The student movement in Goa is rather weak, almost non-existent. And one of the most important reasons why the student movement in which we participated was very important, very powerful, is because we were not part of any political party. We were completely independent and fighting only for the benefit of the students and not for the parent political party. Today what happens if you're a member of one party, then if that party is in the power, then you will not oppose that government. That doesn't work in student movement. I think students should be independent of political parties. They might have some ideologies. When it comes to students' injustice, there should be one voice of the student. Student movement gave me a certain leadership quality. It gave me the need to be on the right side of truth, to fight against injustice. And today, it has helped me tremendously in whatever I do. Well, there were two major movements where I participated in along with all of you. One was the 50% bus concession, and the other one was the corruption in the education department when Francisco Sardinha was the education minister. And the third one actually was the reservation of seats in medical college. I would not go into the details of what happened in the Marx scandal. I will only briefly talk about my participation and participation of some of my close friends. I must tell you that my entry into the students' movement was because of one man, Satish Sonak. Satish Sonak was became a very close friend of mine in 1977-78 when I was a student in medical college. Satish had a great fervor for reading. So I developed a habit of reading, discussing many issues, whether it is political issues, social issues, or poetry with Satish Sonak, and that helped me tremendously. Now, when it came to the Marx scandal thing, you must remember that we had taken over the secretariat. Fräulein Machado was the speaker, and then only he could sort of bring police into the assembly, and he came and he was very courteous to the student. He did not shout, he did not arrest us. I very clearly remembered when we entered the secretariat, we opened the cabin of Francisco Sardinha, who was a minister, and some of us, we picked up the chair of the minister and threw it off into the Mandavi River. So I think all this kind of a thing required total commitment and fearlessness, which I think the student leaders of my generation had. And that is why we were able to make the education minister resign. As far as the reservation in medical college is concerned, initially we had a seat which was reserved for the chief minister. It was completely at the chief minister's discretion. And this was when Shashikala Kakodkar was the chief minister. We fought against the MGP government, and we fought against the Congress government. So we were not affiliated to any. And Shashikala Kakodkar is to distribute the seat to anybody whom she wanted. I would not go into the details of that. And then when the reservations came for a Muslim candidate, the Muslim community in India is absolutely backward. It is more backward than any community, any scheduled caste community in a way, because they were the people who belonged to the so-called lower classes who were converted to Islam. They do deserve, in my opinion, like in my present thinking, some kind of benefits which are denied to them just because they are Muslims. This is another issue altogether, because, what I thought at that time and what I am thinking today, if I am thinking the same thing, I am a total fool. Consistency is basically only the fools are consistent. Wise men have to slowly change their opinion. And I have changed my opinion about certain things, but having indiscriminate reservations in the hands of the minister, and I would not have been surprised if the minister who kept this reservation would almost sell the medical seats. This had to be opposed, and we opposed it. I have some very interesting anecdotes which I want to narrate to you. Once we were arrested and we were put in the Panjim police station. We were in the jail in Panjim, and there were thousands of students outside demanding our release. And so the police in Panjim got fed up of us, and they said, okay, we will send them to Mapsa. We arrived there at about 1 o'clock. So when we arrived at the police station, we were put into custody. We asked for the jail manual. And ultimately they found the jail manual and said it is 1 o'clock and it is our right to have a meal, lunch. So they had no provision for giving us lunch for some reason. And so they got fed up of us. And they said, no, you were arrested in Panjim. That is Panjim jurisdiction. We are sending you back. So they put us in the van again and they sent us back to Panjim. And ultimately we were produced in front of the judge in the court. And the judge said, young people, please apologize, because if you sort of continue like this, then you won't be able to get government jobs in the future. And we told the Honorable Justice that we are not looking for government jobs, we might become ministers and give government jobs. That's what we told the judge. So these were some of the very interesting anecdotes. I also cheated once, because when the police lathi charge happened, actually I was not beaten up, but I pretended that my hand was fractured and I was with a big plaster giving a speech from the top of a truck next to the Panjim church. Well, these are the mistakes of the youth, and I think I should be forgiven for that. But I feel that the student movement was one of the best things which happened to me, and I think every student should look at only the benefit of the student community and not align with any political party, because students are in a process of learning. The political parties will always like to catch them young and breed them and make them make them perhaps suit the present chaos. This should not be allowed by students. And I think public speaking, fearlessness, fighting against injustice is as much important in education as getting a degree.
That was really well said. I have a few things to conclude on that because I also had I watched this very minutely, and there are a few ingredients, that that contribute to making an agitation a successful. That is one thing, but more than that, there are some takeaways from this. So to conclude, I would say one thing which Dr. presented here was that he did make an acknowledgement that how the movement shaped him, and he owed everything to the movement. That was one. He also said like how the students were united at that point of time, and it also came very strongly from Dr. Martins, who said that like they were not thinking about themselves, but they were thinking about the future. Like this is called selflessness. The quality of selflessness was alive at that point of time. You would see the another point was about being apolitical. So today, like somehow, as you try to analyze these movements that took place in the past, and one of the significant points that came true was how the society was filled with values. There was a sense of value, and people valued those values, and as a result of which the different people from varied walks of life came together to support that cause. But today we live in a society where the values have become valueless, and everything has become less. There are so many WhatsApp messages which are spread everywhere, which everything is less in life. But we see we are so well connected today through the digital means. But what we saw in the movement was that in spite of those lack of digital, devices that were there, yet people were so strongly emotionally connected. This brings me to the point like, kahan kho gaye hum at this moment. Like you see the world that is evolving at this point of time. And the last to say, like there was fearlessness, there was a commitment, like all these things were there. And it also took me to the flashback of this, like wonderful movie that I had watched as a student, that was Rang De Basanti. And in that movie specifically, they showcased the freedom movement and how those different actors, they are, the whole emotions are portrayed back again into real present day context. Okay, so this is the greatest takeaways like that I would like to wind up with. And I think, like every little student, even in the present contemporary times, should go and try to, imbibe this sort of a values in them and stand for injustice. That is the biggest takeaway that came out from all these movements that we spoke about. Thank you so much.
I think there are some additional inputs remaining.
Yeah.
And Mr. Agustin Antam is there, who was there at the window taking photographs of the mark sheet.
Well, I'm Agustin Anta. I'm a sports person right now. I'm All India Football Federation instructor, a licensed football coach. Still, why I'm telling you this is because how the mark scandal came out. I was in my final year, and I won't name the person, but Francis Sardinha's niece was a good athlete. So I have asked her why you're not participating in when she was in 12th standard. Chenna te 12 kahle tenna
Street play.
te apon part gain amudulale. And I always encourage people to take part in sports. So because of she wanted to go for medicals, we used to travel by the same bus from Ganthvoll to Margaon. So being at Bombay University, exams were held quite late in June. I had come to the college and I happened to meet her. I just said to her, "Yes, mugo, first class mugo to ka chalo ile." मैं तेरे मुड़े लग दोन गाड़ी मालदन पहुँची कि ना अपन verification आ डालला. I'm an effort corner now in science students. I'm BS in physics and maths. So I'm like very hantorit. Best now pede kona ka Minister Sardinha chana on kalo. I don't know. It is all God's plan. All of a sudden, I went to the head clerk and said, "Sir, in your lifetime, how many verifications come back with a change in marks?" So he said, "Not a single." So Ruskin was there. "Sir, yeah, Kathlia, and I'm mullo and gelo." Bestens modle hai teka sura kai sanguk na. So I was sitting in the library after 2-3 days. So the one of the clerk came and called me and said, "Hey, Raskina na paila tuka." I'm below musti am mashat college in. So gelo choiler ek sang tuka cash call le teka marks change and sir I'm best modle. Then I saw the marks change and all. Of course. But the most important thing I did is I contacted my GS at that time. He was the general secretary of the culture. And there were no phones. There were no photocopies to take the thing. So we planned in such a thing where Ruskin showed me the thing. I showed others. And then we planned. So Cleofato and Mohandas came together to ask for to see the mark sheet, चोवपाक. आणि एट द सेम टायम रस्किनाचो फोन पळय कॅबिनेट नासलो थिंगा दुसरे कडेन त्या टायमार ताका फोन केल्लो मडगांवसून. आनी हांव भायल्यान कॅमेरा घेवन रेडी आसलो, बिना फिजिक्स स्टुडंट कॅमेरा आसलो मग येशिका, तो रिकॉर्डिंग काडलो, डेवलप केलें, जालें. दीस इज पार्ट ऑफ इट. Of course, then Cleofato has explained the history. But important thing is that I had to suffer a lot. I was beaten up from the Basintla Buckley Commission. I was for 3 days for day. Kutoris, Makasans, Gidolisa now, Maina Pata, Swati Basin, Maka Bayer Kadun, Mallo, Mado in Mallo, Sarko. Complaint Kelly kinds around. Of course, then I went for Bata Commission, Buckley Commission also now. But we explained whatever I have told here. It was till now, as I thought that commission is out, but it's not yet out. We told whatever was the facts we told. But finally, Sardin took revenge when I was teaching in one of the schools. But kida asta Dewan no mulla. Yes, all Dewan kella. I'm just used as a pawn. I'm just used as an instrument. पण कितें एक देर बॉन जालें, दुसरी देर. But from there I went into sports, football, and got a A license, which is the second highest degree in coaching. And I became famous at all India level rather than in the school. As Mohandas has said, intelligent ahले तांकां कोण वळखना, पण आमकां गोंय बरो हिंदी बरो वळखतात एज अ फुटबॉल कोच. So with this, I will also add one more thing. During reservation of medicals as well as mark schedule, we were picked up by, Mohandas and myself were picked up by the police, but not put in the jail. We were taken to the Ranian Chief Minister's thing, where we were told to withdraw, and finally we were given a good stay in Vistar Hotel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also have with us Kagendra Hegde Desai, who was part. He's not there. Okay. So, sir is going to present before us what actually happened at the street play, that was going to be staged at Makazana. Right?
Street play, that was the first street play. Actually, Kagendra Hegde Desai was supposed to come. He was part of that first street play. Our organizer, suddenly लक्ष आयलें. बट आमी बॉम्बे खंय तरी वाचिल्लें, बॉम्बेच्या एक मॅगझिनाचेर मनोहर म्हणटाचेर स्ट्रीट प्ले करतात बी म्हणून. सो तातूंतल्यान मागीर हांव आनी राजू नायक उलयताले गार्डनां बसून. तातूंतल्यान आमी थारायलें की स्ट्रीट प्ले बरोवपाचो. राजूनी करप, स्क्रिप्ट बरोवन हाडली. दुसरे दीस आमी कॅन्टिनाकूच बसताले. कॅन्टिनाक बसून ती फायनलायज केली, तातूंत इम्प्रोवायज केलें. एक सराच्या घराच्या फ्लॅटा भितर आमी ताची सगळी प्रॅक्टीस मारल्या. टिचर्स सपोर्ट करताले विजय सातपुतेच्या घरा कडेन. आनी ताजो फर्स्ट शो मडगांव विद्यानिकेतना मुखार पुलीस स्टेशना कडेन एक आंब्याचो रूख आशिल्लो पणसाचो. त्या पणसाची रुखापणां पयलीं केल्लो तेन्ना थंय पळोवपाक सगळीं सर आशिल्ले, सपोर्ट करपी सगळीं सर आशिल्ले, पळोवपाकूय सगळीं सर आशिल्ले. इनफॅक्ट जालें अशें की प्रभव आनी मोहनदास लागींच बसल्यात. तुज्या आज्याचो रोल ताणें केल्लो त्या स्ट्रीट प्ले भितर, बाबू नायकाचो. आनी सारकी त्या स्टायलीन बिलीन सगळो केल्लो. आमकां स्ट्रीट प्ले करपाक चली मेळनाशिल्ली, अशी परिस्थिती आशिल्ली. हे रस्त्यार बोवाळ मारतात आनी कितें अशें तरेचें. आनी शालिनी सार्दिनाचो रोल प्रशांतान केल्लो तेन्ना. कसो केल्लो तो ताका मागीर करून दाखोवपा लायात. पूण तो स्ट्रीट प्ले लोकांनी खूब उखलून धरलो. आनी ह्या स्ट्रीट प्लेचो इम्पॅक्ट इतलो जालो की जेन्ना आमी मातादोर गाडी घेवन कुर्तरी वचपा भायर सरले, म्हाकाजान वाटेर आमकां आडायलो. इट वॉज अ फूल ट्रकलोड ऑफ गुंडास, कंप्लीट पिल्ले आशिल्ले सारके. थोडे जाण लकताले बसून आनी येवन थंय सारके मुठी मारून हें करून खोटो मारून तांणी वयर लायिल्ले मायक म्हणजे लावडस्पिकर बी सगळे फोडून उडयले. आनी आमी फक्त जनेलां बंद करून दवरली. आनी कोणा तरी एकट्याक म्हणजे म्हाका अजून पर्यंत याद आसा, मोहनदास गाडये भितर आसा, डेजमंड गाडये भितर आसा. डेजमंडाक असो धरलो आनी कोणी तरी वळलो, डेजमंड डिकोस्टा कोण? ताणें सांगलें ही हॅज नॉट कम म्हणून. ओके, मागीर मोहनदास उखल्लो. मोहनदास लोलयेकार कोण मोहनदासान जालें ना तो आयलो ना ताका भितर अशे तरेन आनी आमी कंप्लीट बंद आशिल्ले सामके आनी आमी एकूच थारायलें आनी पेट्रोल सगळी घेवन आयिल्ले ते गाडयेचेर घालतले आनी कितें करतले आमी फक्त एकूच थारायलें जो पर्यंत उजो लायना तो पर्यंत आमी भितर रावया कित्याक भायर सरल्यार मार पडटा पुलीस ना एक वारीक आशिल्लो बाबू वारीक जो इन्सिडेंटली आमच्या गांवचो CID तो थंय सायडीक बसून खांब्या कडेन सुसेगाद सिगार उडीत सगळें पळयतालो त्या वटच्यातल्यान अक्षरशः आनी तितली म्हणसर आमची गाडये कडेन सारदीन आयलो थंय वचचे पयलीं आनी सारदिनान दार उगडलें आनी दार उगडलें म्हणपाक लागलो मिस्टर डेजमंड you want to you think that I don't have support in my constituency? See, this is my support. आणि ते सगळे बरें लागताले अशी परिस्थिती आशिल्ली सो ताजे नंतर फायनली तांणी उजो आमी हें घालें पेट्रोल ओतलें टायरांचेर पेट्रोल ओतलें आनी पेट्रोल ओतून तो फक्त नाटकां करतालो गाडयो ओडटालो उडयतालो गाडयो ओडटालो उडयतालो आतां आमी पेट्टा काय ना इतली म्हणसर संतोबा देसाय थंय पावलो पुलीस फोर्स घेवन आनी संतोबा देसायान लाठीचार्ज केलो लाठीचार्ज करतना म्हाका अजून याद आहा तांणी बाबू वारका कडेन अशें करून पळयलें बाबू वारकान सांगलें तांणी सगळ्यांक नोट करून दवरिल्लो आनी ते तांकां पळय मागीर बडयलो पुलिसीन तितली म्हणसर ताजे मदीं क्लिओफात आयलो टॅक्सींतल्यान क्लिओफाताक मारलो पयलीं सो असल्यो सगळ्यो गजाली जाल्यो आनी थंयच्यान मागीर आमी पुलीस स्टेशनार गेले आमकां पुलीस स्टेशनार व्हेलें आमी पुलीस स्टेशनार कंप्लेन फायल करपाक गेले तेन्ना म्हाका अजून याद आसा उल्हास नायक आमचे बरोबर आशिल्लो आनी उल्हास नायकाक नांव बरोवन घेवपाक लागलें नांव प्रत्येकाली बरोवन घेताले सो ताणें जालें नांव कितें उल्हास नायक बापायचें नांव कितें संतोबा देसाय कित्याक आयच्यान आपल्याला पुनर्जल्म जाला आपण ना जाल्यार थंय मरपाचो सो आपलो पुनर्जल्म संतोबा देसाईन केला अशे तरेन सगळें हें आशिल्लें म्हाका अजून याद आसा 2 गजाली त्या हातूंतल्यो जस्ट एनेक्डोट म्हणून ल्हान एक म्हणजे जेन्ना आमी सिगार ओडटालो म्हजी जीन पॅन्ट आशिल्ली आमी सीट प्लेक जीन पॅन्टूच घालची पडटा नाजाल्यार ते सगळी पिनून वता सो जीन पॅन्ट आशिल्ली आनी त्या जीन पॅन्टाच्या बॉल्सा भितर फोर्सकराचें पाकीट आशिल्लें जेन्ना आमी पुलीस स्टेशनार पावले तेन्ना चल सिगार ओडया म्हणून जर भायर काडलें जाल्यार पाकीट सोड भितरलो तंबाखू पुसून कंप्लीट भिजिल्लो इतले आमी घामान कंप्लीट थपथपिल्ले तुमी इमॅजिन करा जीन पॅन्टीच्या बॉल्सांतल्या सिगारा पाकिटांतल्या सिगारांतलो तंबाखू म्हणजे कितें परिस्थिती जाली आसतली आमची हांव तेन्ना केस अशें उडयतालो त्या दिसाक तो घामान भरिल्ली तेन्ना जे केस पळय अशें केल्ले ते अजून तशेंच आहात सारदीन की याद मे मार्क्स कॅन्डल के आनी ताजे नंतर मागीर आमी दुसरे दीस मिटींग घेतली ते दीस लोहिया मैदानाचेर काळखा मिटींग घेतली लोक जमले दुसरे दीस मागीर परत सगळ्या बोवाळ जालो आनी ताजी मिटींग घेतली आनी मागीर पणजी भितर मिटींग जाली तेन्ना सतीश सोनाक अनावन्स करतालो ड्रामा गोस्टोस म्हाका जाणा पळयात आतां आनी हांव ते टेम्पो कडेन थंय सगळी लोक हजारांनी भुरगे भरल्यात मागीर आमी आझाद मैदानाचेर गेले आझाद मैदानाचेर स्ट्रीट प्ले केलो इतली म्हणसर सांजचे 7-7:30 वरांचेर आठवले आयलो नारायण आठवले संपादक आनी तो म्हणपाक लागलो की आनी नारायण आठवलेन अग्रलेख बरयल्लो आनी म्हाका जावन मध्ये लोकशाहीचा मुर्दा पडला म्हणून फ्रंट पेज एडिटोरियल अजून पर्यंत आसतलें हांगा घाल्लें आसतें आमी सामकें खूब पावरफूल एडिटोरियल बरयल्लें प्रेस सपोर्ट करताले सगळे त्या एक स्ट्रीट प्लेन सगळें चित्र बदलायलें आनी ते दीस आठवले लागून आमी परत स्ट्रीट प्ले केलो आनी ताजे नंतर 2 दिसां भितर सार्दिनान राजिनामो दिलो दॅट वॉज दी पावर ऑफ दी स्ट्रीट थिएटर
थँक्यू Yeah. Okay, now we are moving to the last part of today. If there are questions or anything you have from the audience, like you want to contribute or you have a question to ask, please feel free to do that.
Yeah, so I have a question. I'm Rucha, for those who don't know. And my main question is that right now I'm speaking as a student. I study in Chogle College. The thing is, I graduated, I finished my bachelor's degree in 2021. I worked for 3 years and now I'm back in college. And the whole system has completely changed. There's a new management. And it's been quite troublesome for us as students. So we are making some demands to the principal. We have written a letter to her. But we have decided that if she does not listen, then we are going to protest. But there is one concern. There's only one guy who is handling all of this. The council, our master's council, English department, we are supporting him in it. But there's this fear that this generation cannot stand up to authority, because I have noticed it. I have noticed that quite a few of my peers are scared to stand up to authority. So when we go forth with this protest, how can I convince my peers to not be scared of authority? And why do you think it is that they're so scared of authority?
So I think that's a question for you because you are in authority right now.
I thought you were from sociology. So you are an authority in that subject.
Yeah.
See, I remember in those days, at least that fear of authority was never there at that time. I can tell you there was one agitation called cycle strike, cycle shed strike. Everybody was coming by cycles those days, and students were demanding a shed. So how to get a shed? They were not giving a shed, cycle shed. All the cycles were brought to principal chamber, office, everything. The whole thing was filled with cycles. So, and the cycle shed came. But now I think what you are saying is right. That people are afraid to stand authority. But unless there is a united fight, this may not happen. We thought the same thing with respect to, say, CAA in JNU, the farmers' strike. See, in the past few years, nothing is happening. Nothing is happening in the entire country. But we have these great movements against CAA. CAA continued for so many days. The farmers' strike also continued for so many days. And they happened because there was a sense of being united. If that farmers' strike, if all the farmers' organizations had not come together, if the CAA against CAA, the movement was not there in JNU, it would not have taken any further. But it all depends upon how to be together. See, that is the main thing. But standing up to authority, yes, because also we find that there is so much of dependence on the authority. There are so many schemes that people depend upon. There are so many issues that people depend upon. That is where it fails.
If I can add a little bit to what Cleofato said about the fear of authority, correct? If you really want to fight for what you believe in, then you should get rid of fear. And the best way to get rid of fear is you must have pleasure in what you are doing. So even in activism, if you are doing it because you feel good, you feel happy after doing it, then the fear question doesn't arise at all. Fear comes when you start calculating. And whatever you enjoy, you never calculate.
And one more to add, see, at that time, the slogan with us was, we have nothing to lose but your chains. So that was it was no fear at all. Nothing to lose.
आनी कोणाक कितें आसा?
Only one line. I think at that time, throughout the country,
Yes.
one feeling was there, and that is whether the establishment is good or bad, we are against it.
Yeah.
And that created that force within us. Can I add
Please.
very last line? I agree with Advocate Cleofato when you said that we have nothing to lose. But going back a little before our movement of the Students' Union, they were the freedom fighters of Goa. And they lost everything. And yet they fought and we got liberation. So it's not as if the youth calculate their risks and they go ahead without any fear or without any responsibility. I think the people who fought for freedom I'm talking only of Goa state. I'm not expanding myself to the nation, but they had all the fear and they had everything to lose, and they were the same age as we were when we were in the Students' Union. They lost everything. They lost their youth, they lost their careers, and yet they fought. And that is the spirit that this particular generation needs to at least comprehend not inculcate, I'm not going that far also, but at least comprehend and understand that that is a possibility, that can happen.
Meenakshi is a daughter of freedom fighter, Dr. J. Martins. I am also son of two freedom fighters, but my also slightly differ with Meenakshi, that yes, career-wise, economically, they lost, but they always told us, but maybe we lost something, but we gained independence. That is very important. Okay, so it is not just losing and losing career. आयच्या कालची एक प्रेस नोट काडिल्लो, त्या प्रेस नोटा भितर मुद्दम खूब जाणांची नांवां दिल्लीं. जितले स्टुडंट मुवमेंटा भितर, आज स्टुडंट मुवमेंटा भितर गेले जाल्यार लोक म्हणटात की वी वील लूज अवर करियर. इनफॅक्ट जे सुबोधान सांगलां खूब बरे तरेन सांगलें, वॉट एवर आय एम टुडे मोस्ट ऑफ इट गोज टू स्टुडंट मुवमेंट. हांगा आशिल्ल्या सगळ्यांचे आनी प्रत्येकान आपली करियर तातूंतल्यान बिल्ड केल्या. नोबडी वील डिनाय दॅट की बाबा त्या स्टुडंट मुवमेंटाक लागून आपल्याक लॉस जालें न्ही, आपल्याक भरपूर गेन जाली, ही प्रत्येक जाण मान्य करतलो. सगळे वेगवेगळ्या गजालीचेर आसा. करेक्ट. मीनाक्षी बिकेम अ ग्रेट एक्टर, फिल्म एक्टर ऑल्सो, नाटकां भितर. ह्यो सगळ्यो गजाली ज्यो आसात त्यो सगळ्यो गजाली आमकां स्टुडंट मुवमेंटांतल्यान दिल्यात. सो हो मेसेज खंय तरी भुरग्यां म्हऱ्यांक, बेसिकली पेरंट्सां म्हऱ्यांक पावपा जाय आनी टिचर्सांनी हो सगळो पावपा जाय, बिकॉज टीचर्स आर देर मेन पेरंट्स इन दी इन अ डिफरंट वे.
Yes. So I think with this we wind up. If there is still someone who wants to add one last to this whole gathering, we'll still keep it open. Yes.
One thing I would
Yes.
like to add, that at that time, all the teachers, or rather most of them, were backing us. Like in Chogle College, I remember one Dionis Ribeiro was on the other side, but otherwise all the teachers were with us.
Yeah, so that's what I think.
पुलिसांचो भंय सगळ्यांक आसता. हांवें मुद्दम सांगता, मोहनासान सांगली ती खूब महत्वाची गजाल. पुलिसांचो भंय बेश्टो सगळ्यांक आसता. पुलिसाची अशी गजाल आशिल्ली की पुलिसां बरोबर आमी रस्त्यार झगडटाले, ते आमकां दाडी मारताले, आमी तांकां फातर मारताले. दी मिनीट आमकां थंय भितर व्हेले की आमकां मागीर जेल मॅन्युअल आनी सांगलें तें विचारपाची पसून गरज पडली ना. म्हाका अजून पर्यंत याद आसा की हांव खूब फावट अरेस्ट जातालो आनी ते पुलीस येताल्यान सांगताले, इस्पेशली रास्कीन आशिल्लो, जिओ डिसुजा आशिल्लो, अशे खुबशे जाण पुलीस ऑफिसर आशिल्ले. रास्किनाले तर सरळ आशिल्ले, तो रकाद धाडटालो, आपयतालो, बसलो, संदेश आज रातचो कितें जेवतलो, म्हणटकीर म्हाका कळपाचें की आज हांव भितर उरपाचो म्हूण. जेवण ते दिताले सामकें. म्हणजे वता म्हणून हांव एक इन्सिडंट सांगता. तो म्हणजे नॉट डायरेक्टली, बट पुलिसांचो भंय घेवपाची कांय गरज आसना. पुलीस ऑफिसर्सय मनीसच आसतात. तांकां खबर आसता की आमचे फाटल्यान आमचे भितर पॉलिटिक्स ना. आमी पॉलिटिशियन वा स्वताच्या स्वार्था खातीर करनात, ह्या लोकां खातीर झगडटात, कितें तरी रायटा खातीर झगडटात. हें तांच्या भितर, तेय मनीसच आसतात. आमी वास्को भितर नौजवान भारत सभा केल्ली तेन्ना वास्को भितर आमी घरां खातीर झगडटाले आनी राजीव गांधी येवपाचो आशिल्लो MPTच्या 100 सेंटेनरी खातीर. सो ते सेंटेनरी सेलिब्रेशन येतना आमी थारायलें की ब्लॅक फ्लॅग डेमॉन्स्ट्रेशन करतले. त्या सगळ्या डिटेला भितर हांव वचना, पूण तें खुबशें कितें जालें आनी आमकां अंडरग्रावंड वचचें पडलें. आनी अंडरग्रावंड वचून ते दिसभर तें डेमॉन्स्ट्रेशन बी जालें वेगळे तरेन. आनी मागीर आमी वास्को रेल्वे स्टेशनाच्या सायडीक थंय हाजेर मेळपाचें थारायलें, ट्रॅकाचेर. थंय सगळीं मेळ्ळे, 4-4:30 जाल्लीं. दिसभर कांय खाल्लें नाशिल्लें. सकाळच्यान पुलीस सारके मागाचेर आशिल्ले, ब्रेकफास्ट पसून घेतलो नाशिल्लो, भूक लागिल्ली पोटाक सामकी. सगळें तें जालें. राजीव गांधी परत गेलो. परत वतकर आमी थंय पुलीस स्टेशनाच्या फाटल्यानच आशिल्ल्या एक हॉटेला भितर आमी खावपाक गेले पूण पयशे नात बोल्सांत, कितली म्हूण खातले. सो प्रत्येकान कितें तरी बारीक एक भाजी पाव अशी कितें तरी घेतले आनी तितली जाण खातले. इतली सगळें जाय म्हणसर बरें व्हडलें हॉटेल तें, येदें व्हडलें हॉटेल सारकें अशें तरेचें. घाड करून पुलिसीची जीपी आयली. पुलिसीची जीपी आयली आनी सामकें गन्स बिन्स घेवन सगळे पुलीस देंवले आनी तांचे बरोबर DYSP प्रभुदेसाय, DA प्रभुदेसाय. तो तर आमकां सारको असो फादर फिगर खूब बरो करतालो. ओके, ताणें थंय आमी खाता तें पळयलें आनीक ताणें थंय कावंटराचेर रावलो आनी तो म्हणपालो ओके ओके अशें. डेजमंड आशिल्लो. डेजमंडान तुमकां जाय तें खाया आतां. प्रभुदेसाय साहेब आयलो. घे आमी ऑर्डर करून दिसभराची भूक भागोवपाक हें खा तें खा. तो सुसेगाद रावलो थंय, सुसेगाद रावलो. मागीर तो सगळो आयलो, वेटरान काडलें बिल दिलें. डेजमंडान सांगलें बिल ताका दी. लोक पळयनात कितें चल्लां काय म्हणून. बिल काडलें, ताका दिलें. प्रभुदेसाय साहेबान पाकीट काडलें, पाकिटांतल्यान बिल फारीक केलें. बिल फारीक करून ताणें सांगलें चल. लोक आमकां पळयतात. भायर सरतना गोवा पुलीस मुर्दाबाद, गोवा पुलीस मुर्दाबाद. आनी हांवें धरून विरून काडून घालें भितर. बीन फारीक केलें. सो अशे तरेच्यो गजाली आसतात. अशी न्ही की ऑथॉरिटी भितर सगळेच कितें ते गव्हर्मेंटाची आसतात.
तेन्नाच्या पुलीस आनी आतांच्या पुलिसाक डिफरन्स आहा हय तुवें नोट केली. तेन्ना जे पुलीस आशिल्ले आनीक आतांचे पुलीस हातूंत डिफरन्स आहा. तुका हांव एकच एग्जांपल सांगता की दत्ता बी जेन्ना हांगा गेल्ले पळय खंय बायणाक वस्ती मोडटा थंय तेन्ना श्रीधराचेर आनी हाजेर चीफ मिनिस्टराच्या हाजेर तांचेर केसीस ठोकल्यो. हें आमच्या वेळार संतोबान बी आयकलें ना. संतोबा जावं वारीक जावं हे मिनिस्टरान सांगलें म्हण नाल्यार सार्दीन तेन्ना मिनिस्टर न्ही. सार्दिनाच्या वेळार जेन्ना स्ट्रीट प्लेक वचपाचो आशिल्लो म्हाका DYSPन आपोवन हाडलो. DYSP बर्डे म्हणटा आशिल्लो. बर्डे म्हणटा तो DYSP. त्या बर्डेन येवन म्हाका सांगलें की तूं कसोच भुरग्यांक घेवन थंय वचनाका म्हण. म्हाका जाणा गेल्यार तूं मार पडटलो. ते आयकुपाचें नात. आमचे कडेन पुलीस सपोर्ट उरचो ना. म्हाका ती आवडट्यान पयलीं संतोबान आनी हाणें सांगलें तूं ताका कसोच आयकनाका म्हण. तो कितें सांगू तुमी वचपाचें. संतोबान जबाबदारी आमी पळयता कितें करपाचें. आनीक अशे पुलीस ऑफिसर आशिल्ले म्हणजे सार्दिनाक आयकना बर्डे पांय पडलो की वचनाका म्हण. तूं वच म्हाका सांगून धाडी आनी तूं सांग तांकां कशें जावं. आनी आमी गेले. आनीक संतोबान आनी हाणें फूल प्रोटेक्शन. सार्दीन जेन्ना थंय आयला आनी जेन्ना पुलीस सगळे आमचे बरोबर राविल्ले तेन्ना सार्दिनान संतोबाक म्हणलें तूं तें मिस केलां की तूं ह्या भुरग्यांक कितलें प्रोटेक्शन दिता. आपल्याला थंय मिटींग आहा आनी थंय आपल्याचेर कोणें अटॅक केलो जाल्यार पुलीस आपल्याक जाय. ताजो अर्थ असो आशिल्लो की पुलीस सगळे आपूण व्हरतलो आनीक मागीर ह्या भुरग्यांक मारतलो. संतोबान सांगलें तुका पुलीस प्रोटेक्शन जाय. 2 बसी पुलीस सार्दिना बरोबर धाडल्यो आनी संतोबांनी कांय ठरावीक लोकूच थंय रावले. आनी ताजे नंतर ताणें सगळ्यांक चोपलें संतोबा. म्हणजे ते पुलीस आमकां आतां ना. आतां पुलीस आतांचे सगळे पुलीस ऑफिसर कोणी जावं जे पोस्टींग घेता पळय ते मिनिस्टर सलाम. तूं आतां मडगांव दिगंबराला ऐकले शिवाय ते कांय करना. पर्रीकरान सांगतरीर हांचेर सेक्शन लायली. हे पयलींचे लाय नाशिल्ले. सो तोय सोसायटीक डिफरन्स जाला कित्याक तांकां अशें जाल्लें आहा की वारीक सारको इन्स्पेक्टर सदां म्हणटालो की आपल्याक कितें करपा ट्रान्सफर करपा हे बॅग रेडी आहा आपूण खंय वचपा. आतांचो पुलीस इन्स्पेक्टर तें म्हणना. आतांच पुलीस इन्स्पेक्टर म्हणटा आपल्याक खंयची पोस्टींग जाय थंय म्हयन्याक कितलें कलेक्शन जाता सो ताका थंय सलाम मारचो पडटा. दॅट इज द डिफरन्स. सो तेन्नाच्यान आतांचे तो भरपूर डिफरन्स आहा.
Whatever was happening at that time, whatever has happened in Goa has also not happened in isolation from what is happening in the country.
Correct.
So the times have changed not just in Goa, because that was the time in the 80s when like the whole this thing of independence, liberation, the aspirations were meaning the jubilation was like the expectations were not met, because now over time independence is like there was a lapse of time in the country since independence and people's aspirations were not met. So there was an upsurge. There were movements from those very movements from which the slogans like you have nothing to lose but your chains came. So there were all these movements and Goa was operating in that context. So we cannot look at Goa in isolation from the rest of India. Secondly, I think also there are different things that go into the formation of a movement. I say this because I don't come from any of the movements that you were talking about, but I come from another kind of movement where we used to do an analysis of what is happening, etc. and take our own steps in terms of written representations or whatever little things that we were doing. So and also that no movement is only based on these actions. What are these what you call these agitations. There's more to the movements than the agitations. The agitations also don't happen in isolation. In the movement itself, there's more to that organization and the movement than the agitations. It's just my thoughts.
Of Devendra Prabhudesai, I've traveled 100 kilometers now from Parshipedne to attend this and skipped my family get together today. Anyway, it was great memories सगळ्यो परतून उजवाड जालो. I was very small when all this thing happened. I was in 9th standard. I was selected for Goa team to represent for nationals, and we were stranded there for the whole night there. And रातचे 11 घरा पावले आमी because of that 50% strike. That is I remember. Then second thing was mark scandal, and that was the time I was in 11th standard. 11th standard. We had Rodney, James, and all these people from ManoSobha studying in Dempes. So basically, these agitations and all were taking place in Panjim and Margao. The movement was quite strong. And ManoSobha, there should be two colleges which were not anyway affiliated or anything for this movement. One is Xavier's College, which never allowed any movements to take place. They suppressed all of these things, which later on we succeeded in getting the Xavier's College students also with us many a times. But DMC also was a big college. And once so happened that during the agitation, Rodney, James, all these people came to DMC College. I was just a young boy there. I saw these people were selling udin or something. And I skipped my full day classes and I was with them talking to this. I was so inspired by this. That day onwards, I was baptized as a PSU. I became a strong PSU member. And then we went on to build this DMC unit to such an extent that we had more than 500 members. So we were inspired by these people, this generation, like Cleofato, Mohandas, Desmond. All these people were iconic figures for us. They inspired us. We built an organization, then the organization spread to all over Goa. We went on to build PSU to a large extent to all the colleges, and that became a big student movement. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Muja uncle, तू जावन आहा या गोयचो एज्युकेशन मिनिस्टर. तू एज्युकेशन मिनिस्टर असताना ह्या तुझ्या पुतोडीक मेडिकलाचे एक सीट फावो जायना अंकल.
बाय शालिनी, तू कांय भिये नाका. जे पोरी एक कोंबी आपल्या पिलांक आपल्या पाका खाली घेता तसो तूं हांव तुका म्हज्या पाका खाली घेवन तुका GMC भितर ऍडमिशन दितलो. तू कांय भिये नाका शालिनी.
वर ढगाला लागली कळ मार्क स्कॅन्डल गळ नवं सरकार निवडून आलं आम्हाला वाटलं आमचं सरकार आलं. अरे पण काय हे बी त्याच बळेचा मणी हाय. सरकार स्टुडंट रक्षळ पाणी थेंब थेंब गळ हे त्या वेळा फामाद गाणी आशिल्ले आणि फर्स्ट स्ट्रीट प्ले या असो त्या गाण्याचेर आणि असो जाल्लो. थँक्यू.
येस, थँक्यू व्हेरी मच. तुम्ही सगळे आयले आणि हे सिरियलायज जायत रावतले. हे युट्यूबाचेर बी येतले, आमी तुमकां धाडटले. आनीक लक्षांत दवरात, धाडटले तेन्ना प्लीज तुमी बाकीच्यांक फॉरवर्ड करात, स्टुडंट्सांक फॉरवर्ड करात, आयच्या जनरेशनाक फॉरवर्ड करात. आनी आमचे फुडले प्रोग्राम आसतले. हांगा दत्ता दामोदर नायक आसात, तांचे फुडले जे 25% आंदोलन जाल्ले वा बाकीची सगळ्यो गजाली जाल्ल्यो गांवांनी वचून ते सर्वे करताले, सर्वे करताना पुस्तकां करताले, तांचेर फुडले सेशन जातले. तुमकां सगळ्यांक बरी रात आयलो.
Students unity! Zindabad! Students unity! Zindabad! We want justice! We want justice! We want justice!